Second race weekend of the BMW IBSF four-man bobsleigh World Cup. We're at the Veltens Ice Canal in Winterberg in Germany's Hochsauerland, ready for the second deciding heat of the competition. Martin Haven and John Morgan alongside this World Championship track from February.
Francisco Friedrich, he had the lead all the way down the track. He made a mistake in the labyrinths, cost him his position. He's in third, but he's lurking for the top spot. Team Rico Peter, he went off first. He's got second place, but he's behind by 1/100th of a second to the world champion, Max Art, who won the event last year on this track.
Well, there is Nico Walter, the man who took the silver medal in the World Championships in March in the four-man. And it is our world champion who leads the field, but by 100th. The battle for third, Francesco Friedrich ahead of Nico Walter. That's 100th of a second apart as well, and we have a tie for sixth position. So, as we go 20 down to 1, Radek Matusek, one of two sleds from the Czech Republic in the field. 3 sleds got cut, one from Great Britain, one from Serbia, and one from Romania. And there was huge drama for British driver Lamin Dean. Brakes failed on his sled after the run, and it shot straight off the end of the ice, up the concrete off-ramp, and very nearly into the woods. Radek Matusek then, the student for the Czech Republic, just rode up the track with these guys. They were bubbly and full of excitement for this second heat.
First time they've ever made a second run. Second year he's been on the tour. Was here at the World Championships last year. They did not get settled. Look, they're still moving around. And the start speed, 45, well, that's a pretty good start speed, but it ain't gonna stay that way as it comes down the track. Well, he's got the best ice to work with. What you try and look for in a four-man bobsled here, look at the number 2 and 3 guys' helmets. You can see them. You should be able to see those guys back there. So obviously this team has not been fitted into this sled. You know, they bought the sled off the rack and got the 4 athletes, and they still haven't found a way to get comfortable in an aerodynamic position. Curve 9, this is a pivotal part of the track.
Well, that is as close as we've seen so far. And he's gone. He was behind the 9 and he's flipped it back up. I think somebody lost one of their galoshes or a visor. Rough ride, but the good news is, A, they're down in one piece, and B, they can't drop out of the top 20.
Only 800 slower than his first run.
Which tells you that
I don't know much, but I know this much. That wasn't the way to do it. That was not the way to come down the track.
Well, if he only loses 800s by doing that, I think the brakemen are in for a rough ride.
I think his mistake, he goes on the left side of going into curve 9.
Here we go.
And he comes down flat, and the sled rolls. Hello.
Look at all
onto
that
the wood.
weight.
Well, we haven't seen that shot too often. The pictures aren't bad, huh? Look at this shot. And then it comes back up, okay. Whoa, we made it through. These guys are going, whoa, that's great. Whoa. It's not over yet. And then this is down 11, 12, 13. And the sled comes back up again and rights itself. And, you know, they tell them you can't practice for a crash. They can't tell the athletes what to do other than to say, stay in the sled.
Wide eyes and some nervous laughs.
That's David Edgy. He just used first World Cup.
They're in the leaders box.
Delay for the French.
Yeah, because they've got to take the debris out of the track. Well, the ice probably is a little gouged as well, but whatever.
We've seen a lot of action down there in that 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 11, 12, 13 is the labyrinths. And you go into 14 and, you know, the scrapes now, well, visor still in the track.
Visor in the track. And
that won't cause a problem because the sleds won't go there. The sleds will be up there where you see the runner marks, but they still will get that debris out of the track.
Yeah.
What do they call it, a caution?
Yeah. Caution for debris. And the jury are looking now at the pictures to try and figure out exactly where that went to.
That's between 12 and 13.
I think in both impacts they lost.
Crash twice, go get in the leaders box, get a lot of time, have a track delay, get there for their sponsors.
Do you know what? They're as chatty and smiley there as they were on the way up.
Well, it shows you how safe they've maximized the height on these sleds, so that it acts like a cocoon, a row bar in there, and you tell the athletes you can't practice for a crash, but you tell them stay in the sled, you know, and One thing when it does tip over, even in my day, you find a way to get real small,
real
quick.
fast. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Stefan Klipschild, the manager of the track, inspecting his great ice. Boy, they put some ice on this track for the last year's World Championships. We were here. It was like 55 degrees plus 11 or 12. Look at these pictures. Hello. Look at these.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Well
What do you think, guys?
All their bits of helmets will make their way back. They're checking those for gouges.
Looks like they cleared the track. The French have got the...
Runners are on the ice, getting ready to go. So Loic Kostegh for France.
Struggled with the 22nd best start time in the first run. Team coached by Bruno Majon, the French Olympic bronze medalist from the '98 Olympics. And his brakeman was Max Robert, and he's the push coach. Great to see those famous French bobsledders now in charge of the French program and the Monaco program. They have a little relationship, that Monaco and French thing.
And they're not exactly overwhelmingly large teams either, so plenty to be able to keep in touch with. First race of the season in the four-man in World Cup. He was here in the European Cup racing last weekend. Few spots of rain coming down. Not much rain, just a little bit of misty drizzle.
See him get here through 9 where the Czechs had their problems, and he's a very experienced driver. Kostegh come from La Plagne, France. And, you know, he gets good times, and he's, you know, opening up his lead. He had a 1900s lead, and now it's 90. Well, the other guys were on their sides a little bit, too. But look at the time down at the bottom. Wow. What an improvement. 56.27. First run, that's the exact same time as he had the first run, right?
No, that was his run. It was a 55.87, so there's 4 tenths.
Tenths better.
Yeah.
Had to be better for him to get out that far. Articulation on the sleds really maxed out down here. Good. It's one of the better entries into the finish curve. We've seen just a little bit of a tap before the take on.
And that brakeman in the back, Jeremy Bouterin, weighs about 110 kilos. He's just bounced up and down like he's on springs. So our second sled from the Czech Republic, their #1 driver, Jan Verber, their #1 brakeman, Jan Stoklaska behind him.
There's Ivo Delanovic helping him out, the coach, but he's also got a Korean jacket on.
Yeah, well,
he's coaching the Koreans also.
Multitasking. So the second of our sleds from the Czech Republic, they have 2 sleds, both made the cut.
26 in the first run, 21 here, much better start. Push bar still out, comes in, 44.6. Not as good a speed as with the other sleds. That's related to how you jump in the sled. Calm yourself before you go around the first curve.
Their teammates had slightly better speed in the first curve. This is a slightly better looking run though than the one we saw from Matusek.
Loic Kostegh are not far apart, 400s in time, but boy, he's opened it up big. That's related to the start. You know, Jan Friedrich had a tough week last week in Winterberg. He crashed in practice. His brand new sled, he had to take it back to Prague to redo it. Watch out. It's okay. And then he had to get another sled out of Winterberg to qualify in the Altenburg race, so he had a pretty helter-skelter week, which ended up not a very good result for him because that Altenburg's his home track. And here, boy, much better, 55.39. That's 6,400's better.
Yeah,
much better.
Run.
Is the track faster? Temperature?
Certainly looks like it. Don't forget he was 17th and Matusek 22nd.
But usually the first 6, 7 sleds down get that nice ice. You know, the choreography on ice. Here we go. Look at #2 guy waiting. Look at his arms come up. Perfect cohesion. Slaps his helmet. Now they have to get into an aerodynamic profile, hide themselves, make themselves feel really small back there so the air doesn't interfere. And the crossover here, Jan Friedrich, as we know, is a pretty good driver.
So there is Verber. He takes the lead for the Czech Republic. Next up, Steve Holcomb, World and Olympic 4-man champion and the World Cup champion in the 2010 season when he went on to claim the Olympic gold in Vancouver. Struggling with a thigh strain. We saw him run half a dozen steps in the first heat, really just to help the boys get the thing off the blocks.
Back set, first set, run it.
Yeah, Sam McGuff in the back, he's a rookie. U.S. coach is really high on this former running back at Michigan who transferred to Rice. 5:31, that's really 600 slower start. He's got the third best speed though. Holcomb did not have a smooth drive down the track. He's gonna really have to find a fast line to have a chance to overtake the Czechs at the bottom. Holcomb had some real problems in curve 9 and 10. 7 to 11. This is the night train too that he got the bronze medal in. Look at this, they made the mistake. They left the handles around.
Handles there.
The coaches did not remove the handles.
They're used for carrying the sled.
Boy, that's no wonder he's so far off the pace.
Well,
that's a lot of air.
Yeah, it's not going to have that much effect, but
let's see what they say at the bottom. I'm sure somebody's just shaking their head up top.
Now
he's going to fall back 2 places.
That might end up with them with a disqualification.
I don't know if it's a disqualification. It might be overweight.
Well, they don't weigh much. They're little alloy handles that you stick in. They don't weigh much, but they don't have to weigh much.
Listen to what they say.
Are very close. They don't know.
Finished at 55.77, currently position 2 in the overall ranking.
Well, they're talking about the push and the drive and whatever.
Someone's got to go, oh, look what we've done. Okay, we're going to watch the whole season of bobsledding, and we're never going to see anybody else do this.
Well, how long have you been doing this? Have you ever seen that happen?
Not an American sled. That is...
And Mike Dion and the guys up at the top of the track will be shaking their heads, going, oh, okay, man.
Just a horrifying season for Holcomb continues.
Yeah.
Quad injury. Listen.
That's what it is. Came down with them in. They look like steel. That could be a weight problem. Whether it's illegal or not.
They weighed in the first run.
Next up, Hyun Jung-won, a career bronze medal in the last 2 World Cup races in 2-man. Really on a high on his 2-man driving, and that is going to continue to transfer into the 4-man. It's a different beast, but when he's got that confidence, that's going to help unlock some of the secrets of this thing, surely.
2-man's a sports car, 4-man's a big truck. 2 different ways to drive it. Look at the Koreans back there behind them, their team. Aerodynamic profile, looks like they're comfortable. One of the heads is flopping around a little bit. That might be the guy in the cannonball position, which doesn't have a lot of control where he's sitting. 9. Nice. Red numbers, though, behind Jan Grieber.
Yep. It's going to be very close.
I don't know if he's not going to catch the Czechs, but he's going to live in that box. At least one more sled.
Yep.
55-68.
It's behind Jan Verber. Verber's second run was a real good one. He came off start draw number 17, Jan Verber. He should have been a little higher up the order in the first heat. And he's shown that with a better second run. Well, one's was better as well, 56.08 compared to 56.11 in the first heat, but...
Start, look at very in quickly. Look at this guy hanging out with the camera. Someone will grab him. Well, bronze medal yesterday in 2-man for the 2nd consecutive week. Korea looks very positioned for the Olympics in 2018, their home country.
5 sleds down, 15 to go. Winterberg, Germany, 4-man competition number 2 of the season. Martin Haven, John Morgan watching the action with you as Uga Salims of Latvia is next up. Current leader Jan Verber of the Czech Republic was 2,200 slower than this sled in the first heat.
Latvians, very successful day yesterday. 3 sleds in the top 6 in the 2-man. And this Latvia number 3 here, he had some real problems in the entrance to Kreisel and the exit of 9 in the first run, or he'd be up in the top 10 with his teammates.
Yeah, 29-year-old Uga Salims really struggled. Not as badly as we just saw from Matuszek in the second sled from the Czech Republic.
Not only did they finish first, second, 5th, and 6th in the 2-man, they also had the top 3 of the top 5 starts yesterday. So they've got unbelievable athletes that Latvia brings in here, and they're polished athletes, polished in the sport bobsledding and the technique to start the sleds. Ooh, 500s. This, I don't know if he's got enough here.
I'm not sure if he has. Jan Verber could just hold on, and he does. And that was 0.2 of a second slower than Jan Verber's drive on that run. So he was 1800s in front in the first heat, falls back by 200ths of a second.
That was a better drive. There was just nothing to track.
Yeah, Verber's was just way better than his first heat.
He went down 10 minutes ago, and I think the track had a little bit more of the spritz was still in effect on it. Here, this is up top. Well, when you want to have the speeds are slow, and he's on the wrong side. He's on the right side of the screen, and now he's got to get over there. And when you do that, you get a little skid going. You know, again, this is...
Well, again, you can see all the errors there that cost him the time, can't you? That's 0.2 of a second's worth of errors right there. So it's Jan Verber of the Czech Republic moves on. He leads with 14 to come. Next up, Benny Meyer of Austria, the 21-year-old. One of 2 sliding brothers. His brother Raphael, 22 now, nearly 23, slides in skeleton. And that's where Benny started as well when he was younger. So he's had a calf strain, loads of tape on it.
Tough to be a bobsled athlete, especially from October to March 1st.
Yeah.
Not bad, 5:22. Start speed, 45.2, second best speed. Benny Meyer made some mistakes in the way down. Young 21-year-old, 22-year-old athlete who, you know, has got a lot of hopes. His world championships are on his home track at Innsbruck, and they know they have to have a better start than they have now.
In the family business, Dad's the coach of the Austrian team, a former slider himself.
Good lines there. Entrance into crash and consistent. Look at the heads. Well positioned. The sled fits these athletes well. 9-10. This is the problem area on the track, if there is going to be a problem. Not bad. This looks like he's going to be there. I don't know.
Getting closer.
He's got good speed, though, right to the 100th, either way.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
The Czechs got to be loving this. They've got up 5 places.
They're having the Nick Cunningham moment, aren't they, from yesterday? Time in the leaders' box, can't be beaten. Well, there's the Austrian women's team going down to help out.
2300ths.
Yeah.
They raced there. They had a better start than the Czechs. Look at the technique. Second guy's got to get in here late. Just think it, size of a bathtub. 4 guys jumping in. Number 2 guys waiting. Come on, get your feet down. Watch the arms, come up. Now here the crossover down where it's 80+ miles an hour down on the bottom part of the track. Watch the back end of the sled. Oh, boy, not bad, but lose by 100th.
Yeah, tough break. So Benny Meyer in second, Jan Verber still leads. Nick Cunningham from 22nd to 4th yesterday in the 2-man. Now hoping for a top 10 finish, but a disappointing first run.
Well, like yesterday, 8th best start in the first heat for them, and in the 2-man yesterday. And 5:17, that's 100 slower. Start speed, the best speed so far.
He can rescue this if he drives the way he knows he can, rather than the way he did in the first heat.
Casey Rickline, James Reed, Sam Mishner, all slid last year. They were all rookies last year. They're what you call an experienced crew now. Cunningham, when the Night Train won, the sled that won the gold medal in the 2010 Games in Vancouver with Holcomb driving it, and just made a big error on the entrance to Kreisen. Pivotal part of the track, right here.
2800s up.
Nice.
1300s ahead of Verber on this run alone.
Watch it a little late here. Not bad. Boy, this is pretty good. No speed, though. Compared to the 135 clicks we just saw, 134 is 4th best speed. So he's the leader. Not a bad drive.
Well, that run, 55.89. Jan Verber, 55.39. Half a second quicker than that run alone. So Cunningham may not move up very far.
55.60, I thought I had him at. Right? 55.60, that's the first run.
I beg your pardon?
55.60. So here's the curve 1. It's just, you know, eliminating your mistake there. And everybody's going to have a problem around there. But down the bottom part of the track, we saw a lot of problems down here. And these, here's into Kreisel. This is the top of the track. Slight mistake there was worth at least a tenth, if not more.
55.39 from Jan Verber, the current fastest time down the track, as Nick Cunningham has taken away the lead, would have left him in 5th place in the first heat.
Well, it shows the track still got something left in it.
Yeah, sure. Kelly Humphries, and the medals yesterday for Canada, bronze position for her. Watching Justin Cripps and the boys getting ready to go. No Chris Spring, only 2-man for Springer until they get to North America.
There'll be a North American in the lead at the bottom, I can tell you that.
Unless something very screwy goes on.
Better speed, look at that. Ooh, big time start speed too. Canadian athletes just separated themselves from the US, and with that start speed, they should, all things being equal, about 900s ahead here. Only 3. They should be better than that. So something happened.
300s is their first round lead.
Yeah, they should have been better. They had a 500s, 400s better start, so they should have multiplied that out. Still stayed at 3, so maybe he stopped the bleeding there, but he didn't get around curve 2 and 3 like Cunningham did.
A little rocky onto the Kreisel, same as Cunningham. What about when the speed picks up?
6, now he's pulling away. So he might have made a mistake up top. It's hard to see, but down below, the international man of mystery is
in trouble, really in trouble.
Yeah, he's still got high there.
Could roll off the finish line. We've seen it before. 400ths of a second.
Well, that's what he beat the US by at the start, so he should have been 1600s down below.
Cunningham came down 59.60. Cripps 59.59. Yeah.
I'm sure he would like to say, I'd like to have that again.
Yeah.
The 12, 13, 14. Little airborne in the back of that sled.
Yeah, little rocky.
10. This sets you up for the bottom 3, 11, 12, 13.
High.
Watch this. He's late there. Now he's coming to the middle of the curve. And when you come to the middle of the curve, guess what? On the outlet of the curve, you got to come up and airborne.
Yep. And it all comes at you 80 miles an hour so fast, those changes of direction. The sled does not like them, even when the line is perfect. Justin Cripps leads for Canada. Next up, first of our 3 Russian sleds. Nikita Zakharov, the 28-year-old from Dimitrov. Didn't race last weekend in the 4-man.
He was here in the Europa Cup, wasn't he?
See what he can produce. Oh, and again, the guy too has to get back out. Couldn't get his feet around the driver's seat back. It's a very low little thing, barely reaches up to the lower spine of the driver, but he got his feet hooked up, had to get back out of the sled almost.
And he's 500 slower than the Canadians. Now only 3, but the Russian sleds, talking to Hans Wimmer, who makes these sleds for the Russians, and mechanic on tour with him, he says he likes the way the equipment's set up. Russians did pretty good on the bottom part of the track in 2-man yesterday, but didn't have very great starts, so they didn't have great finishes. But oh, this is an example of how confident they are with their equipment, and team is very well aerodynamically tucked in there too. The team looks really well fitted into the sled. Big speed.
Ooh, head up before the line with
248. So, boy, the track, 3,400's better. 55.48, I'm sorry. Wow. 55.48, I'm sorry. 3,400's better, so we saw a smile from Christoph Langen, or from, Pierre Luders.
Yeah, Luders. So the Russians take the lead from the Canadians.
So this is probably going to put a couple Russians in the top 10.
Yeah,
Number 2 still.
This is Nikolai Nezdalov.
You don't want to be doing that. He's the new guy, right?
Yeah,
he's that new sprinter.
And I'm wondering whether he started at 2 before or whether this is a new position for him. Whatever.
He's new. He's brand new.
Yeah. He was on the back of the 2-man sled last 2 weeks. Zakharov leads from Cripps and Cunningham, and we have 10 to go here in the second race of the BMW IBSF 4-man bobsled World Cup. Next up is Oskars Kibamanis, the Latvian, 3rd fastest start time, faded away down the track to finish in 10th in the first of the 2 heats.
Well, this is probably half the athletes from Latvia on this sled alone. 5:08 best start. Watch the speed. 45.8 best speed. He had all the numbers until he got down to the entrance of Kreisel, and all of a sudden he steered too much because his time just bled away quickly. With the 3rd best start on this track, he should be back in a double-digit position. 26, 28. Ooh, still a little tap on the entrance of Kreisel. Look at the heads, all perfectly placed. Can't even see him back there.
Much better looking run.
Ooh, he tapped on the entrance to 9, which just means some steering here.
It was only
quiet too.
900s ahead, 500s ahead of Zakharov after the first
13. He's losing it back. He should have enough. This is a little bit better trip. It's going to be single digits.
Yep. Ooh, dear.
Russians look on.
Yep.
Sandis Prusas and his former brakeman Yanis look on. Coaches of Latvia. There's the first of 3 Latvian teams we're going to see, or the second of 3.
At least he avoided the big hit on the first wall that he had in the first run.
22 years old.
Yep. Lots of time to continue improving.
Curve 9, tap going in. So he came down here a little too early and negotiated through here pretty good. See, a little early, then back up on the outlet, but boy, he didn't change much. Came right through that little tricky section.
Of course, what you don't see is how hard he's hauling on the steering to try and straighten it all out. And that'll take speed out of the sled. Simone Bertazzo from Italy. Now one of the most experienced drivers in the field.
Maybe the most experienced.
And from near Cortina. Lamindine, 34, is older.
Top 10 sleds, nobody's got a worse start time than he does, 5:26. But boy, he can bring it to the bottom.
Yep.
See the holes in the push bar for the driver. That's to get weight out of the sled. There's a maximum weight total with the driver or the team and the sled, but there's also a minimum weight on the sled. That's why they do a lot of weighing of the sleds. Weight has a little bit to do with speed in Mother Nature and gravity.
Well, these things weigh 690 kilos fully laden, and if you are a 1/10 of a kilo out, you're disqualified. So you have to be very careful.
Let's listen to the sound here that these big formats make. Runaway freight train. Doesn't look like he's got enough speed. 1300's a little late there.
Yeah, it's come right down. He was 3/10 back.
Boy, he brought it back. Boy, for a start time, he was 1800s down at the start. He brought it all the way back. Another 100 meters of track, he would have been the leader. Maybe 50 meters of track. Simone Bertazzo, give this man a start time, he'd be up on the podium every week.
I'll tell you what else, if he'd had a first run that was decent, Jan Verber would be still in the lead of this race. 55.39 his second run. Nobody's got close.
Look at that air.
Rough ride in the back seat.
A lot of articulation of the sleds all maxed out. That's the split you see right here in the cowling.
Yeah.
It's where the sleds get on and off the curve. They call it walking on and walking off the curves. Take-ons and outlets.
Lamindine, huge drama at the end of the first heat. They couldn't get the sled stopped. The brake didn't function properly, and they shot straight out the end of the track, ground the runners to ribbons on the concrete. They've got a new set of runners on which are not race prepared.
Some athletes here, 4th best start time of the first run, and it was a ragged entry into the sled. First heat should have done better. 5:11, exact same as they had. Only the 5th best start, and then all of a sudden you see only the 5th best speed. That's the way they get in the sled. But sled that finished 5th in the World Championships here last year on the track, and the brakeman, I got to bring it up again. Andrew Matthews says he hates ice, he hates snow, he hates winter.
He probably hates brake handles right now as well, because they let him down 200s away. After an 800s faster start than Kibimanis, he had a very rocky first run anyway, so it wasn't a great day in the office before they got to the finish line.
He's hanging out now, though, doing well. Found the fast line on the exit of Kreisel, launched him down the track.
Yeah, training.
This is good speed down here.
But it's
rough
away. And rocky.
Sometimes rough is fast.
Let's hope the brakes work now.
Oh, yeah, you lost a little bit at the bottom, but give them credit. The British mishap in the first run. They still go back up, take care of business. They're the leaders. I like their chances at Innsbruck with that start time.
There you go.
Innsbruck's got a lot of the same personality as this track, which is where the World Championships are, middle 2 weeks of February. Oh, this is down to curve 10. Number 3 guy's out of line there for aerodynamics. Sled a little late coming off there. Now he's going to be a little late airborne there on the second labyrinth. And watch the back end here. It's only at 82 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Not real big suspension shock systems on these things.
No.
Look at Lamandine, the guardian of the Queen.
So, tied for 6th. Alexei Stulnev and Oskars Melbardis after our first heat. Stulnev tied the time, so he goes first.
And look at the technique, as good as anybody on the hill, the Russians are. That's their coach, Luders, Pierre Luders from Canada, who's quite a disciplinarian. And boy, is he, technically, what the Russians do, everything is correct. Much the way Pierre Luders competed when he was one of the top bobsled pilots in the world. Look how low his eyes are, the driver. And tell me if you see anybody behind him.
It's a real challenge, isn't it, when you've got a driver who gets in really low and you've got to get in lower.
Well, he's got the red numbers because he had a big skid up top, and he might be able to do something with good speed down here. And these Wimmer sleds, according to their mechanic Hans Wimmer, are set up to go fast on this track on the bottom, and he's shown it here.
Yeah, that rocking and rolling from Lamandine is going to cost him the chance to move up. Stulnev.
Yeah, nice on the bottom, good speed, third best speed, but considering where he's going, there's Pierre on the right. What do you think, Pierre?
The run was not as good as Lamandine of Great Britain. 300 slower than the Brits. They lived on their first round advantage.
Well, the Brits had a better start, and a little mistake up top for Stolny. Remember, he crashed at Altenburg last week. He's still got 6 stitches in his knee. He's been running around wounded for 2 weeks, and obviously he's an athlete that doesn't deal with adversity. Look at the skid here, though. This is up in curves 3, 4. Look at the back end here.
Climbing uphill here.
You know, this is our crew picking this up in the truck. We didn't pick this up, Martin, but that's a lot of time up there where the speeds are slow and you're going uphill.
That 4-5 crossover can kill a run, and you barely even see it from the outside. Oskars Melbardis then, 2400s off the lead, but from this position, he and Alexei Stulnev have a shot at the medals. They're only 1700s out of bronze medal position.
Best start in the competition, first run, 5:05.
Worth pointing out, the man who won the World Cup title in 2-man and 4-man and overall last year was this man, Oskars Melbardis.
Ooh, big time start. First time we've seen somebody in the 46.5. He had a very disappointing first run. Very disappointing. With that start, for him to be back in this position, something was wrong. And you know, it's either the sled setup, something going on, but he should be out to 30 hundredths at the next clock. If not, he might just be losing time all the way down the next clock. There's the 30, so, and he's in a skid there.
It's 2 to 3. That's his biggest worry on this track.
Yeah, he made mistakes in the first run up there, had to, because with that start, he was buried at the bottom.
In the World Championships, you can just remember him cursing those corners every single time.
Yesterday's silver medal in the 2-man. Speed, he's losing it back, just like we saw in the first heat. Should be enough for the win, for the lead, but I don't know if it's going to be good enough for a medal.
1900s to the second.
137.1, though, the first guy to break 137 here in this heat.
1900s quicker, beg your pardon, 2200s quicker than his first heat, and that is the fastest run. Jan Verber's 55.39 has finally been beaten by the man who was in the bronze medal position in the World Championships in the beginning of March this year.
Watch the hands come up here. I think that's cohesion. Almost
synchronized swimming.
Synchronized swimming. Awesome picture. Boy, that was so unbelievable.
Beautiful.
Damas Driskin's not with him. He's got an injured Achilles. He went into a two-man yesterday, but they're resting the best brakeman in the world, I say.
Here we go then into the serious money. Alexander Kasyanov of Russia. 1300s off the lead, 600s out of the medals. This is where it all gets very busy.
Going to give up a ton of time here at the start. 5:18. He's going to need to go 5:16, 5:17 here. Look how quickly they're in the sled. 5:17. Mission accomplished. Look at the speed. He's almost 3.5 kilometers down. He's red numbers already. But as we've already said, Stulnev just drove a Russian sled real quick on the bottom part of the track. The sleds have got a perfect rhythm on the bottom part of this Winterberg track, and he's going to need it to overcome Man Bobsleigh.
Corrective steering there. And into corner 5. And
that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
2/10. He's got to get it down to 14 here before he gets to 9.
Again, he's twitching away with the steering ropes. You can see the runner tips twitching away.
This is a question of, he might get it down to single digits, but he's not going to overtake Bobsleigh.
High above the drive lines again, and it just compounds itself all the way down the labyrinth. Not going to get close to Man Bobsleigh.
Best time of the run.
1500s back.
14th best speed on the bottom. So the Russian sleds, this one didn't have the good speed on the bottom like his teammate. He needed it. But
that is the slowest run since Justin Cripps 8 sleds ago.
Well, the start
5:17, not bad.
6, not bad.
It was not the start that was the issue.
No, the drive down the track, we couldn't see where. Look at the head come out there.
You can watch the runner tips all the way down. He's just fighting for control.
This is down there.
Big slide, hauls it off the turn.
Boy, the articulation on the sled was working to the max there.
Yeah.
That's off 13, 14. That's where you question the sleds. The track's the same at the bottom. The sleds and athletes are so much faster from when the track was built in the mid-70s.
So here we go, 4 to go. And it is Oskars Melbardis who leads. This is Nico Walter, winner in the 4-man last year in World Cup action. He was in the medals last week as well in silver.
Suspect start time, 5:19 in the first run. 5:19 again. Well, you know, now he's got to hit a home run. He's got to be absolutely perfect. And not many people we've seen come down this track perfect. You know, you're going to make a couple mistakes.
He's got to try and beat his 2 teammates to get into the medals as well. 500s behind Melbardis.
If it only goes to 7 or 8 here at the next clock, he's got a chance to catch him on the bottom. If he gets out to 12:15, like, oh, here he comes. Oh, skid there. He could get this down before the exit of 9. Could get to even.
Only 100th behind his teammate, Francesco Friedrich, in the first run.
He could get him here at the bottom with the big speed. If there's anybody can do it, this young German pilot can. It's tied. There's the 100, perfect line.
Here we go.
Big speed, he's got to be the leader.
And Walter has the lead.
Boy, he just did it, 126.7. Jawohl, says Christoph Langen.
Okay, so we had 3 German sleds in the top 4. Can they sweep the podium? Or will Rico Peter hold on? Rico Peter's best ever 2-man, almost best ever 2-man, so his most dramatic 2-man silver medal came here 4 or 5 years ago.
But he had a 4-man bronze medal last year in Altenburg.
Yeah.
Here's the lines into Kreisel. This cost him a little bit. He was bringing the time back, and then this little skid from the back, and then down here at 11, 12, and 13, it's just put your seatbelts on and hope for the best, and it wasn't too bad. Look at the lines. Look at the runner tips. Is he trying to steer away? No. Look at it. He's just holding on. Just let the thing go.
Was it enough for a medal for Nico Walter?
Second last year in the World Championships.
Yep.
He's got to cross his fingers here.
Francesco Friedrich couldn't beat Walter or teammate Max Arndt last year, but last week he did.
Best start in the first run. 5:07. They do it again. Start speed. Excellent. No, it wasn't excellent. Start speed was suspect from the clocks we see. Well, he owned this race until I jinxed him to tell him how good he was doing, and then he almost tipped over and curved out. Made his first mistake of the year. He actually showed us he was human. He had won the first 6 heats of the year going away, and I thought he was going to be sweeping this race too, and he still could with a perfect line here at the bottom.
Pulling away from Nico Walter. Don't forget, he was only 7/100ths from the lead.
That's where he made his mistake in the first run, and it was a little bit there too, not as bad as the first run.
But he's got a huge advantage. He's 100th in front of Walter. He's 23/100ths, but a big slide onto the final corner.
Wow.
16/100ths, but that's comfortably quicker than anybody did in the first heat.
Yeah, that's 1300s better. He really...
Look at Hubi, steps up and stands up immediately, rather, Janis Becker.
6'6", I'd want to get out of there too.
Janis Becker stands up and delighted with that run. That could be a 4th consecutive gold for Francesco Friedrich.
I don't know about the gold, but skid there. He has not got through there cleanly. He's 0 for 2. Then this is, you know, he's fighting to get to the finish now. His 2300s lead got down to 16. Look at the coach. What are you telling him? Christoph?
Christoph Langen, his heart on his sleeve as ever.
Here's Randy Spies, the famous German pilot who's from Winterberg. This friend Friedrich. Yeah, he's talking about, I was trying to get through there.
It was zigging when it should have zagged. First heat, we had 2 sleds, 100th apart for the lead. Rico Peter, 100th behind. Can he take his first ever 4-man win?
I don't think so. Going to give up an eternity of time here at the start. He's going to be 15 or 16. He needs to get at least 19.
As long as he doesn't give it away in corner
He was the
0.
first man down. He had the best ice to work with. It was not a great run, but he was fast. And we were surprised he was only separated from Art by 100. But, you know, maybe this Swiss sled's got more in it than we think. And maybe Rico Peter, we're not giving him the credit he deserves.
Well, all he's got to do is iron out one big error.
16 to 16. That's a good sign. Little tap there's not good. He's got to get this down to like 9 or 10 here before now. 9 or 10 hundreds coming up right here.
It's the tips of the runners as he comes towards
followed
him.
away.
He's steering harder.
This is a German sweep again.
2nd place at the moment. He's still in front of Nico Walter. And that's a really good exit. Little skiddy there. 2/10ths back. He's still in 2nd place ahead of Nico Walter. And he is, drops to 3rd. And he is
100th.
out of the medals.
By 100.
Looks like a German sweep of the podium.
The Germans have the great starts, except for Walter. You know, Rico, he went first. Tell you, Rico is he's definitely emerged as the best driver. He's ahead of Hefty because he does 2 and 4. He's beaten Hefty regularly in the 2-man competitions now. Had his first World Cup victory last year in Sochi. And his start, they went from 16 to 19. That's everything. If they would have got the same 16 start they had in the first run, they would be in a podium position down below. Nice cohesion, Swiss precision timing, Swiss precision starts. He's always been. Look at the heads hanging out there, though.
Well, that's because the gravity's pulling them up off the seat of the floor of the sled. So, for gold then, the world champion, Max Arndt. Last race on this track, he won over 4 heats. Now he needs to win over 2.
5:15 start. You're going to need 5. The way the Germans are, 5:14 has to be. 5:11.
That's a big effort.
That's a big effort. Now he smells it. He knows that Friedrich opened up the door for him to have a chance here in the 2nd run.
But when he sat down, he was only 300ths ahead of Friedrich, who won last week. Now he's 500ths behind.
If I'm a betting man, he's going to have equal or 3 numbers here at the next clock.
Don't put money on him. You've cursed every single athlete you've
Down to
done
4.
that.
Oh, that wasn't good though. Down to 4. You could get it down to 3 or 2 here in the bottom. Catch him. Right here, clock coming up. Entrance to 9. Right numbers 9. Not. Winner, Francisco Friedrich at the bottom.
Well, Friedrich had a really rocky labyrinth. If Arndt can thread it through neater, he can still come back, and that looks better. Not the biggest skid. Going to be a couple of hundreds behind at the line. Max Arndt, the world champion, goes down. It is victory for the 4th time this season from Francesco Friedrich. And Friedrich, 55.23 second run, 13 hundredths quicker than Max Arndt's second run, and that's what turned the tables. Friedrich should have been further up in Heat 1.
Max Arndt, mistake on the entrance to Kreisel. That's what did it. He came back on the bottom. He's the best driver in the competition. Gives up time at the start. It's down below, but his mistake was made up top in the entrance to Kreisel. Down below, he was flying.
Skidding high off the exit there, and then the crossover just doesn't happen.
Yeah, that hard hit he had on coming off from 5 into 6 and then into entrance to Kreisel. That cost him.
Rico Peter offers his congratulations. Rico Peter 4th, but it is a German sweep of the podium. Francesco Friedrich wins again. Won the 2-man and 4-man in Altenburg, his home track. Changed to Winterberg. Result is the same. Wins 2-man and 4-man. Max Arndt and Nico Walter back him up. Rico Peter 100th out of his joint best ever finish. Oskars Melbardis in 4th, ahead of Alexander Kasyanov. So Lamin Dean ending up in 8th place despite all the high drama, and Nick Cunningham not getting the top 10 finish he'd hoped for. Well, windy morning and all sorts of excitement. Again, Francesco Friedrich pulls it out of the fire. 700ths away in the first heat. We said anything was possible, and he demonstrated again why he is probably going to be a 2- and 4-man world champion at the end of this season.
He's done it all. He made the mistakes. He made a big mistake in the first run, or else he would have won this race going away. And he still hung in there. I mean, that shows you when you can come from behind, he can win the race from the front, he can win it from behind. He's done that for a couple weeks in a row now. He's come from behind to win.
Yep. So it's really, really on a crest of a wave, Francesco Friedrich. And you've got to wonder, now this is the time when we start to look at the record books and see who had the most wins in both disciplines during a season, and we probably don't have to look too far back.
Well,
Let's look
2 years ago, Holcomb had like 6 races in a row. Right off the bat, 7 races I think he won before he crashed here in Winterberg.
We need to look at what Melbardis did last year as well in terms of victories in both disciplines.
And you have to go back to Andre Lange over a 2004, 5, 6 span. And then you had to go back before that to Christoph Langen. He won, I know, of 6 or 7 races in a row, but the 7th race in the 2-man here in Winterberg, his sled was confiscated, and the next day, after taking it apart, putting it back together, they disqualified him for illegal axles.
Right.
But I think Langen's tenure then, Lange in the 90s, and then Holcomb had a couple years ago. Melbardis was winning, but he wasn't winning every single race. He was winning 1 2-man and then missed the 4-man. So,
but look at the names that we're having to use to compare to Friedrich already, and he's only in his second, season as a senior slider.
I said it in the first heat last week in Altenburg after the first 2-man. I said, this guy could win it all, could win the whole season, and I put money on him to win the World Championships.
Yeah, and become he's a very big name in the sport.
And he's very humble, soft-spoken. You know, he's got a very mature look to him. He's on, what is he, 25?
Yeah, 25, same as Nico Walter.
One of the first guys we know that won the Junior World Championship and the World Championship in the same year.
Yeah,
Senior World Championship.
Ever world champion in ice sliding, 22 years old.
He's a star in the making, and I think he's already arrived.
Yeah, he's hanging high above us in the sky up there. He's definitely arrived. Francesco Friedrich is the man that they're going to have to counter with in any sled on any track. Welcome back to Winterberg in Germany. After our second 4-man bobsleigh World Cup race of the season, Francesco Friedrich, like in 2-man, has a perfect score. He is 2 for 2. Max Arndt in second, tied with Nico Walter. Rico Peter, the best non-German in the field. And Oskars Melbardis giving chase. Last year's 2-man and 4-man World Cup champion may well be handing over that crown to Francesco Friedrich before the end of the season. Maybe long before the end of the season. So entertaining stuff here from the ice in Winterberg. It always produces close results. It's so hard to make a big difference as a driver. But Francesco Friedrich really pulled out a stunning second run to leave everybody else trailing more than a tenth of a second behind. And even the four-man world champion Max Arndt was unable to come to terms with his teammate. Friedrich wins his fourth consecutive race of the season, 2 in two-man, 2 in four-man, and next week is another German track. It's hard to imagine that an awful lot will change. Well, there is your podium, all in yellow, all from the German team.
They have the full package. They have the start times, they have the equipment. The only one without a start time is Nico Walter. The other guys have...
Yep, 5:07, 5:11, 5:19 for Walter. Friedrich's got the fastest starters. He's got the best drive.
And clap of hands to Rico Peter for only in fourth by 100 out of the podium. He could have prevented this German sweep. And a couple mistakes, but Rico Peter has arrived as a dominant driver, and once we get off these German tracks, we won't see these sweeps.
Or will we? Yeah, the North Americans are hoping that when we go to Lake Placid, to Salt Lake City, and to Whistler, the Germans will be a little less at home. Of course, they will be. Will they be any slower? Only time will tell us. Well, from Winterberg, we move on next in our hurry-up European offense to Königsegg, Bavaria. Join us next week then, the whole IBSF TV crew. On their behalf and for John Morgan, I'm Martin Haven saying thank you for being with us. We'll see you in Bavaria. Bye for now.